Yeah, I'll react to that, sure.
Hey guys, let's watch a video.
We in France, I think is how you pronounce it. Preemptive, like 7 things the French are weirdly more relaxed about than Americans. France versus USA. Let's go.
No, but for me, it's a toss. Bonjour tout le monde. When you think of
Bonjour.
Americans and the French, which group seems to be more relaxed overall? Is one nationality more strict or uptight about certain things, and is the other more chilled out and relaxed? I don't know.
I think the key word is certain things. I think on certain things, one is more relaxed or uptight than the other. Yeah.
But for me, it's a toss-up, and it absolutely depends on what we're talking about specifically. Both the French and Americans can be more relaxed, depending on the context. But in this video, we're going to get right into it with 7 things I find the French are more relaxed about than
Work
Americans.
balance.
Okay, let's kick it off with number 1, eating dessert. And sometimes when I'm back in the USA, I feel like American culture makes, a huge deal out of having dessert and can almost make it seem like it's shameful, like it's a bad thing to have something sweet at the end of the meal. And yeah, it depends on your social group and the context, but I feel like most of the time, dessert is not even an option at US restaurants because we're so full by the time the dessert menu is presented to us, Just thinking about eating one more morsel at that point can really make you feel kind of queasy. So we're like, oh no dessert, I'm good, just the check please. But when Americans want dessert and still have room, I feel like women especially say things like, ooh, I'm gonna be bad and get the cheesecake, or oh, I'm gonna get this, whatever it is, and I'm gonna share it with the table. Can you bring us 4 spoons? And there's so much guilt about eating dessert in the US that we can't be anything, but uptight about it, right?
So is it because I'm not a big dessert person at all, honestly? The only time I crave dessert is at like random times at like 1 a.m. in the morning. 1 a.m. in the morning is redundant. Like midnight, I get a sudden like sweet craze, But during a meal, I'm never a dessert guy, but I guess dessert is just more of a part of the entire meal in France than it is in the USA. Like I said, the portions, and so it's not like, well, she's not explaining it. It's not like, well, I'm gonna get these giant appetizers and main course, and then maybe dessert. It's like, no, you're gonna have a small appetizer, a smallish main course, and then you're gonna have a dessert.
But let's look at France. What about the French? The French eat dessert all the time, and they seem to embrace this mentality that we only live once. And yeah, it applies to food. And I'm not saying French people are gorging themselves on pastries and cake and cookies and ice cream 24/7. That is not the case by any means. But, if the French go out to eat or, they host a special meal, dessert is always offered, and most of the time it's eaten and savored. And even when you eat at home, sometimes dessert, it could be as simple as a piece of fresh fruit or a yogurt. And yes, most meals in France end with some sort of dessert option. It's just as normal as having a beverage to drink or, a salad at your meal. Dessert is normal. Now, a few things to note. In France, dessert portions are small. A small triangle of fruit tart, not something the size of a brick like a 1,000-calorie bomb from the Cheesecake Factory or something like that. Normally, with French meals, you do still have room for dessert because these portions of dinner or lunch, they're not
Smaller.
huge. So, you have room in your stomach for that dessert.
Makes
and
sense.
the French typically don't snack, so when it is time to eat a meal, they're hungry and they want to enjoy all parts of that meal, including dessert. And for those of you who might be interested, I've done an entire video on French mealtime habits and one that I really admire. So take a look at that. I'll link it here. And yeah, my understanding and my experience, the French are definitely more relaxed about dessert. There's no shaming mentality of, ooh, I'm going to be bad if I get dessert. No, food is to be enjoyed.
One thing I notice is breakfast too. Like I notice, like the times I've stayed at French hotels and American hotels, when there's a breakfast at an American hotel, it's often like a buffet. It's a bunch of like eggs and sausage and bacon and French toast and pancakes and waffles and yogurt and anything you want. So it's a big thing. And I notice a lot in French resort hotels, when you go down to the breakfast, when it's kind of like there's some fresh fruit there. You can get a crepe if you'd like, maybe a croissant, and it's just the meals themselves just aren't these gorging meals. You know what I mean? And it's just enough.
In moderation, of course, with the dessert, but it's to be enjoyed. Okay, number 2, customer service in France. Customer service is not customer-centric here. And if you come from the land of the customer is always right, getting things resolved in France from this French perspective might be frustrating at first, especially if you expect things to be resolved easily. And
one thing, don't expect. I don't understand the people who have the attitude that they want to go and travel. I would assume would be also the people that would understand that they're traveling to another country. And if you're traveling to another country that you know is going to be different than your own, how are you keeping your own societal expectations and taking them from America to Europe? Like that boggles my mind. It's like you're worldly enough where you want to travel, but you're not cognitive of the fact that you're traveling. It doesn't make any sense. So many misunderstandings and frustrations of Americans in particular traveling to other countries and being disappointed is they think that they're not the guest. Like they're either entitled or stupid and are just like, what's going on? If you're traveling to a new country that you haven't been to and your first reaction to something that's kind of strange to you is like you're angry, you are not very smart. You're in another country. Oh, there's American guys, a French restaurant, the French staff is like, oh, there's an American guys. That means we all need to know what the American expectation is for food service and cater to them. Who thinks like that?
You get used to it and you
Unfortunately, a lot of people, I guess. Sorry.
But it might, especially if you expect things to be resolved easily. And you get used to it and you adapt, but it might surprise you. And one thing that catches me by surprise, still does a little bit, is that customer service numbers are often toll numbers, meaning yes, you pay to make the call. And yes, that acts as a deterrent for people because they don't want to pay, so they just don't call, right? In addition, return policies are not super lenient. Stores close early, sometimes at lunch. And while I can't say the French are okay with subpar service, they've seemingly come to accept it because that's how things are here. And I don't know if acceptance is the same.
Sorry guys, I keep like doing this because I can't get, oh, there we go. I'm trying to itch my back. I got it.
Same as being come to accept it because that's how things are here. And I don't know if acceptance is the same as being relaxed, but it seems that people just shrug and they move on when stores don't go above and beyond and they deal with it. But yeah, you deserve better, French people. There's a better way. Don't settle for bad customer service. Okay, next up, number 3. Nudity
I guess I misunderstood her point there.
and cursing on television. And if you want to see nudity and hear the F-bomb on American TV, you're gonna have to turn on Showtime or HBO. Regular network TV, even late night, can't show you breasts or swearing. That stuff's not really acceptable, and cable channel.
Wait, so this right here,
regular network TV, even late night, can't show you breasts.
Like this is The Office, obviously. So in a daytime show, you would be able to show this unblurred?
Or swearing, that stuff's not really acceptable, and cable channels in the US, sure, they have racier content, but that wouldn't start till maybe 9 p.m. or after, and it's not as racy as French TV shows. If you hear the F word on TV, they're gonna beep it, you don't actually hear the word. And I find that even French TV commercials are more suggestive than what we see in the USA, a naked butt, ooh, at 5 p.m. or up.
I've seen some compilations of European commercials, and that seems pretty spot on. It was hilarious.
Isn't anything to bat an eye.
Putain.
A naked butt, ooh, at 5 p.m. or a putain isn't anything to bat an eye at or be shocked about. And I don't know if Americans seem less relaxed about this because nudity is not what we're used to, but I know people aren't really offended by their bodies and swearing here in France, and they shouldn't be. But it's just normal in France to see the nudity and hear swearing on TV. Maybe it'll be normal in the US. Let me know what you think below about that. Next up, cutoff times for live award shows on TV. So if we stick with TV for a minute, I've noticed that on live television in France, they aren't so strict about adhering to a perfect schedule down to the second like they are in the US. And I just feel like American award shows like the Emmys or the VMAs, whatever, award winners come on stage, when the music starts, they go up the stairs, and they have 30 seconds max to speak and thank everyone. And sometimes if they're going on and on, the network will start to play that exit music, that's letting them know we're going to go to commercial, and they will literally turn the lights down and cut the clip, and just shut the mic off to shut the person up. In France, they seem to be less strict about that on live TV, and they let people talk even if they're going over the time limit. I find that it's a bit more relaxed in France. If something runs over, the next show will just start later. And why are they more relaxed? I think it has to do with money in the US.
Yeah, advertising. They have advertising deals with advertisement companies, and so they want to keep those contracts. And so if you go a second over, like say it's supposed to end at 8 p.m. and it can't go to 8:05 because then it'll go to 9:05 or 9:10, and then the networks, the advertising companies will get angry because they're not getting their money's worth. And yeah, I think it's tied around money.
Start later. And why are they more relaxed? I think it has to do with money in the US, or actually I should start with France. In France, it's less dependent on advertisers' dollars, so there's fewer commercials on programs, and each second is less important to the network's bottom line. If a weekly show starts a little late because the live program went over by 20 minutes, it's no big deal. It'll just pick up at 9:20 instead of 9 o'clock. All right, also about time.
The thing I am confused there, guys, is that, well, if it, instead of starting at 9 o'clock, it starts at 9:20, but then if that program can go a little bit over, then they might end at 10:40, and then that person might end, and so I am a little confused there, but I guess it's about the advertisement. And I would think you'd be a little angry as the next show creator who's trying to get the prime time, but they can't because the previous one went over. But I guess this is my American logic here.
Being on time in general. I find in France, arrival times for a lot of contexts are just suggestions and they're not set in stone. If you have a dinner party starting at 8, show up at 8:30. Doctor's appointment at 2, show up a little late. And sure, American and French doctors are notorious for running late. It's not a French problem by any means, but how we react to it is where the difference is, I've found. So, Americans, I feel, expect a phone call from the office's secretary or a quick text if the doctor's running behind, like an hour behind, so that way you're not wasting your time sitting in the waiting room for an additional hour or two, and my dentist was really good about that, saying, we had an emergency, come later. But I've never gotten that call from a French practitioner. It seems that the French, on the other hand, expect that the doctor's running late, show up late, and tolerate it. And now, I bring a book with me to my appointment, so problem solved. And I
wonder how long, so if it's the doctor who's on time, but the patient who isn't on time, let's say is like an hour late, will the doctor not accept the next patient? I have so many questions here.
I just feel like in general, the pace in small town France runs a little slower. So, time's not a huge focus, but I was raised that being late is rude, whereas maybe in other cultures, being on time is impolite. I'm always early, that's how it is for me. But, cultural differences explain a lot, and we adapt, we get over it.
There's sometimes a saying over here that if you're not 5 minutes early, you're late.
Okay, next, interracial couples. And the US has no shortage of proud racists behaving badly, and the past year has made that abundantly clear. And in some areas of the country, people still believe that different ethnicities shouldn't mix. in 2021, and that interracial couples are inherently bad. And you won't see interracial couples in some areas in the US, it's just not prevalent. And there was a poll from Gallup Minority Rights and Relations that claimed 13% of Americans do not approve of interracial marriage.
I don't doubt that. That seems about accurate.
And just to contrast that with
and I bet you, so
there was a poll from Gallup Minority Rights and Relations that claimed 13% of Americans do not approve of interracial marriage.
And I bet you I bet you the number is actually higher because of the people that like don't want to admit it, or who would be like, yeah, of course that's okay. But if their daughter came home with someone of a different race, they'd be like, oh, I have a problem with that. So I bet you that's actually higher than even 13%.
And just to contrast that with 1995, that figure was 48% of Americans. So we're moving in the right direction, but still.
I wonder what it is right now. So that was 2013. That was 1995. So 18 years later. Now it's 10 years later.
13% in France. I feel like that interracial. We're moving in the right direction, but still 13% doesn't believe that interracial couplehood is okay. While I don't have data in France, I feel like that number, that 13%, would be even lower in France. It's just my perception, but I feel it's pretty commonplace to see interracial couples all over France, in all areas, and everyone seems totally cool with that, at least publicly. Generally speaking, the French seem to be more accepting of those who look different overall. Again, that's not across the board, but I feel like the French are at least more publicly tolerant and less vocal about any issues with interracial couples. But you know what? We're all people. I think we should all be able to date and marry whoever we want. So I think we need.
It's weird. Caring about who another person marries is weird. It's strange.
To get with this century and get with the program. That number should be 0, in my opinion, of people who are against interracial couples. Okay, next up, taking time off.
And by the way, I think a lot of people assume that, that's probably mainly Caucasian people. I think a lot of races think that whether you're black, white, Hispanic, Arab, whatever, I think a lot of there's a lot of prejudice towards their family members dating outside of their race, or I'd say even especially outside of their religion, would probably be even higher. So, yeah.
Work and actually using your vacation time. Okay, next up, taking time off from work.
This was the first one that I imagined she would mention.
Using your vacation time. And I find the French are super relaxed and chilled out about their time off from work because they have so much of it, and it's glorious. All French employees have 5 weeks of paid vacation per year, and that's the norm, and they're encouraged to use it. And some employees, like my husband Tom, who's a fonctionnaire, he has more time than that, more than the 5 weeks. So it's fantastic.
So does that not include like holidays? Like, do you get Christmas off, Easter off? Whether you're like Muslim, do you get Ramadan off? Or if you're Jewish, there are a lot of Jewish holidays. Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, what are the Eid? So does that not count stuff like sick days and vacation days? Sick days and holiday days?
He has more time than that, more than the 5 weeks. So it's fantastic. You can take 2 or 3 weeks off in the summer, July or August. It's expected and it's welcomed. And yeah, telling your boss in the US that you want to take 2 or 3 weeks off in July or August, that's going to put you on a performance improvement plan for a lot of employers. And American employees in general, I feel like they stress when they have to take their vacation days because, the demands of their work are really high. It depends on the industry. But in France, vacation is a right. It's not a perk. And people make using that time off a priority. The work-life balance is prioritized here. And even today, when I've been here for years, Tom will say, I'm going to take my Friday afternoon off to run those errands. And my natural response is, are you sure it's okay? Didn't you just take off your entire Friday 2 weeks before? I don't want you to get in trouble. He's like, no, it's fine. It's my time. I can manage it how I want. And I'm
I wonder if people...
like, okay. So
I wonder if people in France do you like look down on people who don't take their vacation days? Do you know what I mean? It's like, well, now you're making me look bad. Why aren't you taking your vacation days? Are you trying to get a promotion or something?
Using vacation time here is not a problem, and I love that.
Mon c'est Michel.
Okay, something I want to mention is the US is a big country with a lot of people, and it's quite diverse, so of course not all Americans are any one way, just like all French people won't all be relaxed about the things I mention here. This is just my experience. I feel like I need to put this disclaimer, and generally speaking, these attitudes hold true. So I hope you enjoyed this video.
I did.
Also, I want to extend a huge merci
Thanks,
to my
Kimberly.
subscribers
Get
who
there.
supported my channel
Get there.
via my donation link below that I mentioned in my last video. I really appreciate that, so I'll put your names up here. Thank you. And lastly, let me know what other things you find the French are more relaxed about and maybe Americans are a little bit more stressed about, you know? And if you enjoy this type of content, give it a thumbs up, share it with a France-loving friend, and I'll see you right here back on We in France soon. Salut!
Salut. I would just say the work-life balance, but I mean, she mentioned that would be the biggest difference in chill versus relax. So great video. Love y'all. Would appreciate any comments down below. Hope you're having a good day, and I hope I'll see you guys next time. We'll keep on learning stuff. Bye, guys.